To prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. Ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless.
Fire team, attack!
Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Question Time. It's been a long time coming. A lot's happened over the past few weeks, not great stuff. I've been quite ill, so I was, if you don't know why we haven't been live for a while, I've been ill. I was ill a couple of weeks ago from just exhaustion. Basically my body just gave up for like a week, and then the following week, so last week, I got a chest infection, so we have a little bit of a cough still. I've taken some antibiotics, so hopefully all good. But yeah, we're looking all right there. And so that's why we haven't had a live stream for a while. So I do apologize for not being live sooner. And in the effort of trying not to be so exhausted, we're going to try and do these live streams earlier in the day. That means also we can maybe go for a little bit longer, maybe. But at the very least, it allows me to wrap up things afterwards as I so wish. I should have done this a little bit before I started because it's really hot in here. Let me open the window. There we go. Oh, I never actually showed you what I got for Christmas for my wife. I love this. Got this. You may have seen this already, but it's a Lego question mark block, and hard to open up. But it flips. Oh god, hard to do one-handed. Flips open, so you can see all the content inside, which is like a miniature Mario 64. All folds away. Like, that's what I got for Christmas for my wife. I absolutely love it. It's got a little secret Bowser compartment. It's, yeah, fun. Into a little question mark block. You wondered what that was sitting up above the camera? That's what it is. Yeah, it was awesome fun. But yeah. Anyway, nice distraction. We're back and we're live doing Question Time. If you don't know what Question Time is, you can ask me any question you like, literally anything you want. But most people tend to ask questions about UE4 or 5, game development, or anything related to games in general. And you can ask your question into chat, so just chuck your question into chat and we'll try and catch them as we go through today's live stream. If I don't catch a question, don't fret, just put it in there again, but try not to spam the chat channel as much as you can. Just put it in there and I'll try and catch as many as I can. So hello everyone in chat. We've got some familiar faces and some new ones. Hello Angus, Gautier, Tamor, V-Neck, Chris, hello, Limit, hello, Brett, Channy for the donation. Thank you so much. It's been a while, definitely. Sorry about that, as I said, but glad to be back and doing live streams, hopefully more regularly. You had a question, you just can't remember it. Oh no, what a shame. Well, it got over an hour or so to come up with it, so we'll try and catch it before then. My headphones just gone weird. Hang on. I think the wire's on its way out. Anyway, so let's try and answer some questions. Nicholas Holdorf. First of all, props for being one of the only people to make full/finished content. Have you considered doing any dungeon gen content? Yeah, actually, I have in the past. It's been a while since I made like a full dungeon generation thing, but I made a subtractive dungeon generation system once for like a roguelike shooter type thing, like almost like a Nuclear Throne. That was many years ago. But it's on the wish list of things I would like to get to. As of when I'd get to it, I don't know. We'll see how we get on with that. Gotcha. Hi Ryan, I have lots of questions, but I'll start with one. On the RTS series, do you think you can show us in the future, how to make the NI that will work from a macro point of view? Yeah, so the next episode of the AI series is actually available on Patreon right now. And that's episode, I think 25. And that starts off the series of talking about how AI will control the characters and move them about. So that is there, and that is coming. It's been a bit delayed because of illnesses and busyness and all that stuff. And trying to wrap that up as well as many other things. Also Fireteam and other jobs I've been doing for people have delayed quite a few things like that. But yeah, we'll be going into the AI side of things a bit more detailed later on. Thanks, Bryson. Hello, thank you. Captain Machiavelli, where to learn C++ for Unreal with Unreal Macro and all. So this in general for everyone. If you want to learn C++ for Unreal, first thing you want to do, if you don't know it, is learn C++. Learn generic C++, learn how it works, learn what it does, learn how to use it. You can pick up any app, book, website, YouTube video. You can crack on any of those, and it'll teach you the basics of what C++ coding is like. And if you're doing it, and if you're familiar with blueprints, you'll see some familiar elements. Once you got started with that, you can then download the engine source code. And the first thing I'd recommend doing is just look around. Just look around to see what's going on. There's a lot in it. It's going to be impossible to search for it all. Just look around for things that you're familiar with and see how they are laid out. See how it's presented. Now, as for actually learning the C++ syntax and coding patterns for Unreal Engine, I know there are some good YouTube tutorials already out there, so check them out. I'm going to be eventually doing one myself. I don't know when I'll get to it, though. We'll see. But that will be coming down in the future. So get started, first of all, with the basic concepts of C++, and then you should be able to read it quite well. And then you should be okay from there. Benillo, when Fireteam tutorials? So the plan for Fireteam, if you don't know what Fireteam is, by the way, I'll give you a short rundown of that. The Fireteam is an online FPS free-to-play game. I made it in the vein of old 90s style shooter, online deathmatch game. And it's completely free-to-play, no microtransactions, no DLC, nothing like that. The whole purpose of it is to show you the end product of the thing that you will be taught how to make. Using whatever assets you have or want to use, it'll work for all of them. So we'll go through every concept that's inside a Fireteam as a tutorial video. Now, this is quite a lot of content, so we're going to break it into chapters. The first chapter is going to be covering a lot of the actual gameplay elements of it, and then we'll go into more like the menus and the game modes and switching those around and things like that afterwards. And the plan is to release the whole chapter on Patreon at the same time as the release of the game. That's the plan. We'll see if the plan sticks, because things like to break the plan. But that's the idea behind it. So the first chapter will be out for patrons at the launch of the game, and then soon after, next chapter. And then after a few weeks of launch, we'll release the first episode to everyone else on YouTube, and then they'll have weekly episodes on YouTube, drip feeding out. The idea being that you'll have one a week covering Fireteam, essentially. That's the plan. We'll see how we get on with it, but that's the plan behind it. But I say the whole point of Fireteam was to show that you can make a game for relatively cheap. I think the whole thing cost me in assets about $400-500 from the marketplace, because all marketplace assets. I didn't make any of the artwork you see there. I made some of the UI stuff, but pretty much all of it is in the marketplace. I edited a few things. I edited a few materials, meshes, and so forth. But yeah, it's all marketplace assets, and I wanted to show you guys that you can make a game, a full game, pretty quickly and pretty easy, all through blueprints. There's no C++, no plugins, just to show you that it can be done, and with good results. And for those who have checked out Fireteam Patreon, because they're in the beta, it's quite a fun game. It's kind of hectic, but it's fun hectic. So yeah. Let me know if you need any music for Fireteam. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, so Fireteam is not going to be a static thing. It's going to keep growing. So one thing we'll be doing is putting in new maps, new characters, new music, new game modes, and so forth. For example, I'm working with a few students in a number of colleges and universities, like game dev students, who are looking to get some experience. And so a few of them are doing level design. So they've got given the level assets, and now combining those and kit bashing some new levels for the game as well. So they'll come in with a whole bunch of new levels as well. That will have their name on as a credit, and they'll say, like, yep, this person made this map, and so forth. So if anyone here wants to get involved in producing content for Fireteam, do just email me, and we'll see what we can do with that. For things like level design, for especially, there'll be also round table sessions where we can brainstorm some game modes together. I really want it to be a community experience, so you can get to see sort of what game development is like, and get access to that information and that experience straight away. Really, and that's the whole point of it. But yeah, that was a long answer to a short question. Nicholas Holodorf. I'm actually on the AI stuff now. The only thing I wish it currently had is objectives for NPCs on certain nodes, like sit here or wait here. I missed the first part of the question. Okay, Fox. Oh, okay. If you could doing any dungeon gen. Oh, okay. What do you mean? So you want to know? So you want to make your NPCs sit and wait and things like that. We can go through some AI stuff. Not a problem. AI is my thing. I like AI. One of the few people that actually do, probably. Just bring in some third-person character models because we don't have any. The difference, by the way, of me starting this at 9 o'clock, I feel a lot more alert. So, it's a lot better in that case. Okay, let's just bring in this, and we should have it here. Okay, brilliant. So let's check in some AI stuff. By the way, keep checking in your questions, and we'll try and answer them as we're doing this. But we're just going to do a quick crash course in some AI stuff right now. By the way, if you haven't already done so, do check out and make sure you like the Facebook page for Ryan Lady Games, as we're going to be doing more stuff on the page on Facebook. So do check it out. We're going to do some interesting things on there soon. So make sure you sign up to it. Obviously, it's free. Obviously, just click like. And that'd be cool. We need a video for AI. So there will be new AI videos coming out very soon. So each week, for the past 7 weeks, I've been doing a live class teaching AI for people and answering questions about AI. We're going to be re-recording those and editing them and putting them up in bite-sized chunks for everyone else, so you can watch and see what kind of stuff we made in that. So zombie-based AI. Yeah. I'm getting distracted. Let's go into this. Make a character. NPC. And we'll make the AI controller. NPC AI. I don't know what it is. My fingers are always slipping over this keyboard. Yeah, Nicholas, it can be a bit confusing if you are diving into this first time. There's a lot to it. These are the first starting points you want to have. You want to have your character, the AI controller, and the behavior tree. So I'm going to do NPC behavior. And you also want a blackboard. So you want these 4 things, basically. Hey Ryan, it's from Gula. Hey Ryan, I have a question for the JRPG series. How can I do to make the unit health bar to also decrease and not only the current health numbers? I do a lot of ways, but I can't make it decrease too. You do like a visual bar rather than numbers. So if you've got a visual bar, the main thing to remember is that progress bars go from 0 to 1. So if you're using whole numbers, like large and whole numbers, like 752 for health, you need to convert that into what we call a normalized value. So what you do is you drag in the health number and do normalize to range and put the maximum value into where it says range max, and now output it in a normalized vector. And then you can plug that into your health bar. So it works as, once if you've got the numbers just fine, that's okay. You just need the max number. You can cover that in there. Okay, let's put this in here. It's the mannequin. Now I know for a fact that this mannequin is broken from this content pack. I'll put in this. It looks okay, but it'll break us when we start doing it. DK Studios, as a game dev, how do you stay motivated to stick with the same game without getting distracted and doing something else? I do get distracted. I do. I've got folders on my computer of unfinished games, completely all over the place. And it's usually well, first of all, I'll make a game that one of 2 things. I either really want to play myself and like enjoy playing it myself, and or I'm making the game because I find it an interesting challenge to myself. So it's doing something different from what I would normally do. I don't like to do the same thing twice, so I try like to experiment with that and try to come up with cool ideas for new things. Like for example, the next game I want to make after Fireteam will be a asymmetrical online PvP game where it's like horror based sort of thing. So I want to try horror. I haven't really done like a realistic horror game, so it would be like an actual real horror game. So I want to try doing more on that after Fireteam. But it varies between game to game. There's no real rhyme or reason. But I do try to pick something that I enjoy playing myself and would like to play myself. If it was a real game. Like the other day, I was trying to play. What was I trying to play? I was trying to play I was trying to play a number of FPS games for some research on Fireteam. I just weren't interested in them. Like I had more fun playing Fireteam than I did those ones. But yeah. Gorget, as an extension of RTS game, will you make it multiplayer? Yes, you do 5 series, and I asked for more. Sorry. Yeah. RTS series will probably do it actual online multiplayer in a different version of that series. So we'll go back and revisit that. Like how we do an inventory system, we've gone back and revisited the inventory and added some new features into it. I would like to go back with RTS and do that on that one too, if I can. So it won't be part of this first series of this. But if you followed along and learn online multiplayer stuff from my online multiplayer series and all the videos I've done for about online multiplayer, hopefully from that you can start making a work on towards how to get your RTS series set up for multiplayer. It's not too bad to do. Make our AI controller here run the behavior tree. So I just set the character there to use this controller. But as I said, like, the animation will look broken, but we're not worried about animation today. And then we've got the behavior tree. So the behavior tree and Blackboard work together. The Blackboard allows you to store information temporarily in between different tasks. Because the tasks aren't fixed in what order they were running, and they are fired and then let go once they're finished, you can't communicate directly to them. So therefore they need like an intermediary, a proxy to put information. And so imagine like you had a room with one Blackboard in it, whiteboard, and someone came to that room, wrote some information on it and then left. The next person would come in and read that information from the Blackboard and then change it, write their own. It works like that. So that's what Blackboards do. How old am I? I am 34. 35 in October. Gula. Try. I mean, it's hard to know without. There could be any number of reasons. But I think I put a comment on there. I think I did. A fever dream. I can't remember. I say been quite ill. Make sure the tint is alpha's not down to 0 of the image. I think I made it tint alpha in the video, but then I do correct it later on in a different part. I can't recall now. It's been a while since I've recorded them. But yeah, you want tint not alpha not down to be 0. Right, so yeah, anyway on here. So we've got selector and sequence. Selector basically means that you're going to be picking the left-hand branch first. If that fails, then it'll pick the next one. If that fails, it'll pick the next one, and so forth and so forth. If it succeeds, then it won't do any others. It'll just pick one out of the list. So you typically will start with a selector. And then we go typically into a sequence. And this sequence would be our move to sequence stuff. So in here, we'll have a new task to do a random location. For example, find... Oh, we'll call this one move to random location. And in here, we go to functions and override the execute AI. This fires as soon as that node is triggered. Once we've done that, we're then going to get our random location. So we're going to do get actor location. And from there, we're going to get random point in reachable radius. And the radius is how far you want it to look for a point. So do 1,000 for that. And it gives us a random location. And what we're going to do for this is we're actually going to use the AI move to node as a shortcut. So this node here, do this as simple moving. Pawn is this pawn here. Destination is this destination here. And when it succeeds, we're going to tell this thing to finish execute. And tick success. And if you have a fail, you can put that on fail if you like. And untick success. Hit compile, and that's the location. The sequence here we can drag down and do move to a new random location, and that'll handle movement. So you make sure you do have a nav mesh in your level, otherwise it just won't work. They need to know what is walkable and what isn't. Drag that in. Make sure it covers the whole entire level. Wink. Hit P, and you can preview what it looks like. And then we drag him into our scene. Remember, ignore the animation, it's broken. But if we hit play now. Oh no, it isn't broken, it's working, cool. And then, yeah, he'll walk around randomly. Okay? So that's him walking around. If you want him to wait, then you have a wait node already built into you. Okay, you can use wait. If you want to do wait and sit, for example. I don't have a sit animation, but we'll do a crouch. Again, we'll make a new task here, and we'll go into functions, override execute AI, and what we can do on here is we take the controlled pawn, and we'll do play animation, not play animation, sorry, cast to NPC, and and then we do play animation. Animation. What do we want to do? I want him to crouch. So hang on, let me have a look at his animation blueprint. Do we already have it in there? Not be cool. Crouch, yes. So they got a boolean for is crouching. Okay, so on here on cast NPC, I'll just get the. Actually, no, I won't do that one. We'll just do. No, I do want that one. In here, we'll get the mesh. Then you have to cast to that particular animation instance, and then cast to. Oh wait, get anim instance out first, and then cast to your particular animation instance. Ideally, you could have like an actual function or interface, for example, that handles this, but we're taking a shortcut. This one, and we'll say this one. Ooh, crouch. Set crouching to be true. And then if you want him to wait for some amount of time, we do a timer by event, and we'll promote the time here to a value, and the event will go down here, custom, and crouch we'll call it. And on the animation blueprint, I'm going to store that as a variable, save me doing all this work again. I can just promote this to a variable. Makes it a bit easier. So on end crouch, I can just drag that out and say set crouch to false. Okay, and then we'll do finish execute. You may want like a time delay in that maybe, but yeah, so this will allow us to crouch. The time here, we'll put a default time on this of say 5 seconds, but we'll make it have an editable instance there. So what I can do is I'll just rename this one crouch and go into the behavior tree, and on this sequence, after it's moved to a random location, we'll do crouch. And because I made that time instance editable, I can see it on here. I can change it to whatever I like. So that's that there. So he should hopefully crouch if the animation blueprint set up correctly. Yeah, there you go. Then he'll get up and start walking around again. Okay. So you can do things like that if you want to do crouching, sitting, cartwheel, whatever you want to do. You can do things in that sort of manner if you wish. I say, as with everything in game dev, there's loads of ways to do the same thing. But this will work just fine, as you can see. Okay. Nicholas, Ryan, what is your profession outside of YouTube? Or guess, how did it become this? Okay, so yeah, I was a teacher at a college and university teaching games development for about 10 years. I was also the manager of media and visual effects and film and things like that. And about 4 years ago, I started YouTube as a side thing to help my students. And it kind of just spiraled from there and became, got to a point where trying to do both at the same time was not viable because I was literally not sleeping to get both done. So last summer I took the punt and tried to make this my full-time career. And so far so good. Touch wood. We keep going. But it's only thank you to everyone who supported me on Patreon, people who've hired me to do work for them. People who have donated, and people who have subscribed to YouTube. Thank you. It's only because of you guys that I can actually do this day in day and help people out. And I'm trying to do more stuff to help people out as well. Things like Fire Team, for example, giving a free game to and to develop some things like that. And we've got some new other cool stuff coming as well, which will help teach more stuff to people. I like to help out more if I can. But lots of cool stuff I can't talk about just yet, but we will in future talk about them. But yeah. Next question. You clicked on your own autosave. Yeah, my one. I didn't even notice I clicked that off. It's just nature. Or it might have never clicked it off. Never mind. Victor NR, is it better to create widgets in the player controller or in the player character? What if I said it's actually neither? The proper way, the actual way you should do widgets, it depends on where the widget is going to be first of all, but the actual proper way, the way that it's designed to be for widgets, is using the HUD class. So for example, in this first person blueprint here, we have this first person HUD. This draws a little crosshair on the screen, but we normally would put the all the widget stuff in here too. Now the HUD class is part of the controller class. The player controller has access to this only. So if you want to get hold of the HUD, you have to get the player controller, then get this. So if you want to put in the player controller, that's totally viable. That's totally a fine way to do it. It does essentially the same thing as this. But when you're making games, you want to try and separate things out as much as possible for a variety of reasons. But mostly for organizational sakes, it makes it so much easier if you know where all your widget stuff is. It's all in the HUD class. So menus, HUD class. HUD, like heads-up display in the HUD class, and so forth. So do check out using the HUD class. It is pretty simple, but it is its own thing, and that's what it's designed for. And each game mode can have a different HUD class if you want to separate it out as well. But yeah, check it out and use it. It's pretty good. Sorry, I'm trying to read questions. People are answering each other's questions. What am I using? What do you mean what I'm using? Clarify? What do you mean? No problem, Victor. So you'll notice when we do Fire Team, your videos there, you'll see us using the HUD class. You'll have the HUD class for the menu, HUD class for the game, and so forth. MW Design. Hi Ryan, great tutorials. I learned a lot. Would it be possible to make a tutorial about a 3D scene where you can play a 2D game on a 3D TV? Can't find a tutorial about this topic. Okay, so a few things we'll go through in a second. TTE Fan 13, what are you using to make the game? If you're talking about Fire Team, it was Unreal Engine 426. Steam is broken in 427, so you couldn't use 247. We'll probably make the transition to UE5 at some point in the future, but we'll see. People may not be playing it at that point in time, so it isn't an issue. We won't bother. So if I wanted to create a scoreboard, for example, I put the pressed event in a controller, then cast a HUD, or should I use the interface? Either or, it doesn't really matter. But fine. Like you won't need to cast to the HUD because, like, here, for example, what you should do is you have your own. Sorry, I will get back to your question, MW, and I'll show you. So here's my controller, for example. So what you should have at the start of your game is on begin play, get HUD, and then cast to your HUD class, cast to, in this case it's first person HUD, and then just promote it to a variable. So it does it once, and you got that as a reference, and you can use that for whenever you want. That is the way you should do it. So you don't have to worry about interfaces or keep casting all the time. You already got the reference. Works. So on begin play, you should be doing this. Similarly, if you're doing like same thing. If you want to do like the animation instance or the controller or the character class, you do it all in begin play. Set up all your references, and then you're good to go. And you've got all those references that you can specifically get to without doing cast or interface all the time. Really, really nice, optimized, and really friendly to use. But yeah, check that out. Interfaces are really useful, but you don't want to rely on them. I see a lot of people do them for a lot of reasons that it doesn't make sense. So if you can avoid doing interfaces because you can do simple reference pointers like this is so much better. So use this if you can. Interface should be used if you do not know what is going to go into it. Like if I didn't know, I had no idea what the HUD was that's going into it, then yes, that would make sense. But for an interface should really only be used if you don't know the input, you don't know who you're trying to communicate with. Do I sell any more stuff on the Epic Marketplace? I currently do not. No, not at the moment. Maybe in the future, but not at the moment. Okay, MW design. Let's talk about your one. So a 3D TV screen in your game. So it's a lot to set up, and it's quite specific. But a 2D game in Unreal is basically a 3D game, but with an orthographic camera. So I'm not going to make it because it's take way too long, but I'll try and describe what you do. So in your game, you have a 3D game, like your character walking around like this, for example. And let's say this box over here is a TV. On this TV, you'll have a texture, and that texture is a render target. And that render target is rendering a scene capture camera somewhere else in your level, somewhere else in the world. Could be underneath the map, for example. Could be like thousands of units away. Wherever it is, it's up to you. And that'll be your 2D game. When you interact with the TV, you can then take control of the pawn on that camera side. And so without changing cameras, you can make the pawn move around and you can see it on that screen. I say it's a lot to go through, but that would be the way to do it. And if you want to make it look 2D, just make the camera orthographic. So the thing you'll be using is a scene capture component 2D, this thing. And you just like for example, I'll do a very, very quick example. You change it from perspective down here to orthographic, and then you give it a texture target. So you give a render target there. It'll ask you to save it, put it there. And you don't know if you can see quite clearly, but from this thumbnail, but this is an orthographic camera now. So if I move this camera, this thumbnail will update and change what it can see from this camera point of view. And it's orthographic, so it's completely flat, 2D. But then I could see what that texture's doing. So for example, if I were to make a material out of this and slap this onto something like that, that's a bad example. Hang on, let's put a plane in there. Let's ideally not put it in the camera, and then put this texture on it. Okay, but we need to rotate it. Yeah, okay. So this camera here is a 2D camera representation of my game. If I walk through it, you may see the gun floating on that texture over there. I'm waiting for this guy to go over to it, so hopefully he'll go over to it. But you have something like this set up, but you have the character way over on the other side of the map. And when you interact with this box here for the TV, you possess that pawn way over there. Oh, go over there. Gonna do it. But you get the gist of it, okay? Now, when you do possess the pawn over there, your player controller automatically is going to try and switch the camera over to it. Now, there is a setting in your player controller right at the top, and it says auto manage camera. It's something along those lines. Untick that, and the camera will stay where you put it. That does mean, though, that you have to control which camera you're using when you want to switch cameras about, but that should be fine. Did he just appear on the thing, or has he gone behind? Did I just see? Go on. I think I just saw him come up on the screen there. But that is how we're going to... Yeah, there you go. That's how that works. But yeah. Hopefully that gives you some ideas, MW design, of what you can do. Peter Keller, hi Ryan. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to use C++ code over blueprints? Yes, for a couple of things in the past. But for the most part, you can get away with pretty much everything in blueprints. But yes, for there are occasions where you've had to go into it. Blueprints are really quick. That's what's really good about it. Vlad, is 9 a new time for these live streams now? Yes. We're going to try and keep it to 9 o'clock. Yeah. Just for my own health and sanity. I'm going to try and do them earlier, which also means we can run a little bit longer if we need to. How Xweave, how many hours you have with you for? Just wondered. Hi from Turkey. In total, not a clue. Thousands. I've been using Unreal for about 4.5 years. Almost every day for 4.5 years. Yeah, thousands. Manzor Strange, why are you not making a series of third-person shooter game with blueprints with advanced locomotion? Because I'm not. It's literally, I can only do so much at some point. We can do eventually. We'll eventually want to cover every genre. That's my dream, is to have a repository of every genre of game on the channel. So everyone's got a good place they can go for pretty much any question they may have. So yes, a third-person shooter is going to be quite high on the list of things to do. So we'll eventually get round to that. But I eventually want to do some weird things like do kart races and like golf games and things like that. Because I just think it'd be really fun and interesting to do something that's really different that people haven't really done before. We've done a lot of RPG like systems and shooter stuff, obviously. We're doing a survival game at the moment with resources and things like that. But yeah. Not a question, but just want to say thank you for all the amazing videos. I learned so much from it. Huge thanks. Heart. Thank you, Maya. Thank you. Victor, about Fireteam, will the videos of making the game be available early somewhere for patrons or something like that? So yes, I mentioned this earlier. So what will happen with Fireteam is it'll be broken into chapters. And the idea being is that by launch, the first chapter will come out at the same time as the launch of the game. And that first chapter will be available to patrons, all patrons early on that day. Then YouTubers will get one video per week, a number of weeks after that. And then we'll put another chapter out. The idea being is that patrons will get the whole chapter in a chunk, and then drip fed out, and then another chunk, and then drip fed out, another chunk, drip fed out, until it's all there. But yeah. They're still classed for tomorrow. So yes, tomorrow is the final session in our live stream classes we've been doing over on Lighthall, a new website for teaching and training. I've been doing this for about 5 weeks now, 5-6 weeks. Tomorrow's the last session of our AI class, of making a zombie horde type AI. So do come by and check it out if you haven't checked it out yet. There are some video recordings on their site already, but you may have missed the first couple. But not a problem, because we are going to be re-recording them all for video on demand. So they'll be coming out again in chapter format, fed out as they are being edited. Hopefully by the end of the month. Hopefully, we'll see. But yeah, I can stop him doing that now. Kuhn, when I export the animation from Blender to Unreal Engine, the animation hasn't got a mesh. Okay, so you just want to make sure in Blender that you have selected the mesh to export as well. And when you do import it in, I can't really do this because I don't have it. But when you do import it in, do make sure you tick the import skeletal mesh button as well. And it'll come in with the skeletal mesh. But the main thing is you have exported it with this skeletal mesh first. Man's all strange, thank you for answering, but I really want to work with you. I have an idea that what if we fans make a game together with you? Honestly, that's been something it's floated about in the past. A sort of like designed by a committee. It's a double-edged sword, that, because yes, it'd be interesting to try and do something like that, and we probably will do it at some point as it's something interesting to do. But the problem with design by committee, when you have just random people just throwing ideas in, is I can guarantee that game is not going to be fun or good. Just because it's just got too many minds throwing into it. But I'd like to try and do an experiment at some point where we set up little teams and work on something together with the community and myself working together, managing and giving. Because again, I want to give people experience and people knowledge and know-how to get into industry. So if you want to get a job as a game developer in whatever role you want, I want people to try and have that experience and see what it's like and see what kind of skills they need to personally develop and reflect upon. A lot of people go in looking to go into industry might have studied like a games design course and learned some programming or 3D modeling, but actually have never but don't know how to work as a team or how to work with source control or work with just managing and directing and designing. A lot of that softer stuff that probably hasn't been done yet. So I would like to provide that for people who aren't getting that at college and universities, because that's something you're not normally going to see in those sort of places. It's just a matter of just trying to figure out what is going to be the most productive way forward for people and what's going to get them the most beneficial experience possible. I don't want it to be a detriment to you. I want it to be supportive. Sure, it'd be fun, but I want it also be productive for you as a thing. Maybe like an internship type thing. We'll put together a small team of people and do it live as well, so people can look in and see how we're doing it. I've thrown a few ideas about, but it's just figuring out the best way forward with it, really. I don't want it to be a gimmicky thing. I want it to be supportive with everything. Just like how like Fireteam, for example, is going to be supportive. With Fireteam, for example, I forgot to mention, I'll be going through the whole process. So from talking about how like to make it, and then going right to publishing, how to actually publish it onto Steam, and what kind of things you have to do to get that working. We'll be doing the whole thing. Do I have, so from Charles Reed, newish to the channel, learned a lot from you already. Do you have an overall animating NPCs that covers the basics of related objects, blend spaces, behavior trees, etc.? Or would you consider doing one? I've got a variety of things. So I've got some animation based centric videos and sessions where I have covered that sort of stuff. Done some live streams in the past where I've covered that stuff as well. It's been embedded as part of things, so I wouldn't say it's had like a dedicated thing to NPC animation, but you can definitely find it in the videos. If you want to learn about blend spaces and name offsets, things like that, do check out the animation videos I've done a number of years back. They're probably due for an update at some point. So yeah, check out those ones, and then if you scour through from AI stuff, I would have covered some AI animation stuff. Especially the live streams. I would have done some live stream stuff like that. But yeah, I'll consider doing like a updated animation series. Because I too, because I use Unreal every day. As much as I would say I'm an expert at it, there's always stuff to learn. There's always stuff to figure out, or stuff to new ideas to come up with, and so forth. So that's why we want to revisit series and update them, and refresh them, and come up with new features and new solutions to them, and show different methods. Because I too am learning every day. I'm learning new stuff every day. As you should. You should always be learning. You're never going to stop learning. You're never going to know everything you want to know about any piece of software, especially Unreal. But yeah. Chris, how do I add a simple flashlight to a weapon blueprint that works when the gun is in my hand, but it's specific to the weapon I can turn on and off while holding that weapon? It's quite, again, a few steps to actually do this. So drifting skull, why do I unlist these when they're over? So patrons get access to the archive straight away, and as like a reward for supporting me, basically. So if you're any kind of patron, bronze or anything, you get access to it straight away, and then I relist them like a week or 2 weeks after. By then we're going to try and do something new with Question Time, starting with this one as well. Where we're going to cut clips out of it and upload the clips as well, so people don't have to hunt through the videos and live streams all the time. We're going to try and cut out the relevant parts so people can go straight to the source of information a lot quicker. So we're going to try and do that. Starting from this one, hopefully. We'll see how we get on. I've got my friend who's an editor now, who's editing our videos. Trying to get him more involved and more full-time. So, because I can't stretch goal on Patreon, is get him working for us a lot more. But this is going to be one little pet project I'm going to set him up with to work on, as these little clip things, basically. But yeah, so it's literally just to reward patrons for their support. I'm very thankful for the support they give me, so I'm always looking for ways I can give back to them something. So usually like early access and stuff. So yeah, so who was the one with the torch? Chris, that's it, torch. Okay, so the torch stuff. You normally would have a gun, a separate object. You would notice now, if you've played the Unreal 5 Preview 2, they've actually made the gun a separate object now. Thank Christ. So you normally have this a separate thing. Gun. We'll have a skeletal mesh. That gun mesh. And we'll add on there a spotlight. That'd be your torch. So let's turn that around to face the same way as the gun. That there. Make this larger. So with a good torch, by the way, you want to make this outer radius quite large, and then the inner cone radius to fill in the actual bright spot. So this would be like the let's do 150. Not 150, sorry. Angle, sorry, 30. Go mad. Outer cone angle, bring that down. So something like that normally. It's usually quite wide. That'll do. And obviously you can change like temperature and color if you want. However you want. So let's first of all put this onto the character. And go to the viewport. Go to my gun here. And I'm going to take this off. Now it's going to break a few things in my code, because there's a lot of things referring to it. So I just get rid of this stuff. So yeah, back on the viewport here, we can go back to the hand mesh here. Then I'm going to add a child actor. Call it gun. And then over here we can choose what child actor we want to use. I'm going to use the gun class. And then if you click the little parent socket, little magnifying glass, you can click grip point and it'll add it to the hand properly. There we have a gun with a torch on it working as you would expect, like a torch would. Okay. Now, the torch will automatically try and point the same way as the gun. Now, the gun isn't always pointing dead straight because just the way the animation works, it's at an angle, it's not perfect. You may want to customize the angle and rotation of the light on the gun to always point based on the camera. So if you go to the gun actor here and go to the event graph, you can go through here and get the player camera manager and get the direction and vector and things like that through there. I'm not going to it because you want to know how to turn it off and on. So, but you can change that a little bit here and here. And now I'm just going to tweak it manually. Save a bit of time. I'm aware of time. So tweak it a little bit like that. Okay, so turn it off and on. Now, a good way of doing this is with interfaces. So we'll go into blueprints, blueprint interface, and we'll do gun interface. And on here we'll have primary fire, and then we'll have alt fire. And I'll make the alt fire turn off the torch, but you can have like another one that's separate just for the torch if you want. On the gun class settings, we're going to go add gun interface. Just notice the songs are just going all weird and not what I wanted to do. Or you can get flagged for copyright stuff. Never mind. Okay, so yeah, on here we've got those interfaces on here. So we've got alt fire and primary fire. And I'll just implement those. So primary fire is actually going to shoot the gun, which we're not going to worry about. Alt fire will implement that and make that turn the light off and on. So spotlight will get visible. And then from here, do set visible. And we'll toggle it by just making this not. And that'll flip-flop that boolean from true to false and false to true. Okay. Then on the character here, on the event graph, we'll make the right mouse button. Get hold of the gun. Get hold of the child actor inside of that gun component. And then do Alt Fire. Oh, pressed. So now, if I go over here, I can hit the right mouse button, turn it off and on. Okay, and that's how you do that. Okay, so gun interface is really cool, really useful. Yeah, use that. Hobden 984. What's the best way to make diggable terrain? I've heard voxel terrain. Is there any other way you know of? You want voxels. Voxels can be the way to go. Yep, that's it. That's what it is to that. Greg Cott earlier said it's better to save a reference to another actor than use a BP interface. I think that makes sense, but are interfaces bad for performance, or is it just because it's best practice? Both is true for that. So in terms of performance stuff, you've got normal just getting a reference, and you want to do that if you know for certain the thing that's going into it. You know what you want to get. It's only one thing. It's not going to change. It's that. So the controller, HUD, anim instance, things like that, they're static. Game mode, all that stuff, that's static. It's not going to change. So you want to keep that reference. And if it does change, you can just re-get that reference if you want. But that's when you want to do that sort of thing. So then once you've got a reference, that pointer, you can just directly reference it in memory. Not a problem. Interfaces are used if you don't know the exact object that's going into it. So for example, in our gun interface, my player character has a gun component, but a computer doesn't see that. It just sees that it's a child actor, and it knows there's an actor in it. It doesn't know what kind of actor it is, but it knows it's an actor nonetheless. Alt Fire will allow me to say to the actor, play this function if you have it. It doesn't know for certain that that is a gun itself. Like, if I wanted to put a gun, like if I had like a custom event in here called Turn on Torch, for example, I would not be able to simply just drag from there and search for turn on torch. Okay, it just won't happen. I need an actual reference to that gun to actually achieve that. So to save casting to it and getting that reference to it, we can use interface to find the exact thing. Casting to it is fine, but what if the gun doesn't have an alt fire? It doesn't have a torch, okay? Because of the type of gun you've got equipped, because you're swapping this in and out all the time. Interfaces come in very useful for that purpose. You don't know the exact thing you want to use. Another good use for it is like for interactions. So the act of interacting with, say, a door is pushing a button. Now that same button could be used for interacting with a NPC to talk to them. Could be the same as picking up an item like an apple or key. But it's the same button every single time. You're pushing the same thing, but getting a different result based on what you're trying to interact with. So all you're doing is saying, here's a different input. Try and do your version of whatever this is. And it will try and do it. If it doesn't do it, if it doesn't have it, then it won't do nothing. So that's where interfaces come in. Casting is if you've got a reference, but the reference is of a related class, but not the one you want. So for example, let's say you've got the parent class of like, so for example, this is an actor class here. Okay, it's an actor object reference. If I want to get a specific type of actor, such as character or first person player or whatever, I need to cast that to get that specific thing. That's where casting is used. It's used to transform a parent reference that you have or may have and converting it to its child reference. You don't know exactly if it is that child or not. So for example, it's trying to think of an analogy. So let's say, for example, you got yourself and your parents, you're the child, they're the parents, and you're going to pick up the kids in the schoolyard, and they're picking you up from the schoolyard, and the parents, you've got a reference to the parents. So the teacher sees the parents and goes, "Hey, you're the parents. I want to find your child." And then it's them grabbing a child and going, "Is this your child?" That's them casting to this child and going, "Yes, is this your child?" And that may be the right one or may not be the right one, but that is their child. Interfaces is them basically doing the instruction to every single child to see, or not every single child, but picking a child, doing the instruction to them and seeing if it works or not. That's a bad analogy. I'm pretty sure I can come up with one with more time. But they're the difference between the three things you want to try and do, okay? And as for performance-wise, you'll find that in the order that I gave them is the order of preference. So, well, not order of preference. References, direct reference is always going to be best. Always, 100% going to be best. Interfaces and casts are very different, although people have used them for the same similar job. Which is where you get a lot of confusion. A lot of people, like, and other YouTubers will say, don't use casting, use interfaces. Yeah, kind of true, but casting is not used for what you think it's used for. Like, it's used for taking a parent reference and turning it to a child reference. If you're going to do it with an interface, you're going to have to cast inside the interface anyway, so doesn't matter. So there's not, like, people often put them on the same level, but they're actually two separate functions, two separate things you want to use for different reasons. Interfaces, if you don't know what's going in, but you want to get a different result each time, and you define that result on the actual object. Casting, if you've got a parent reference and you want to convert it down to its child reference, so you can access specific variables or functions or whatever through that. Hey Ryan, I guess casting is required to go up and down the class tree. Well, only down in the tree, because a child already has all the parent functions, parent classes, parent stuff, so it doesn't need to go up. Like this gun class will have all the stuff it needs for an actor. It has all that stuff already, so it never has to go up. You only ever need to cast down into the next child if you need to. You don't necessarily know which child you're going into. No problem, Glenn Crop. How can I create a widget that allows me to type in something, and if there is a match, it display a new page like information or something? So with a widget, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's a bit of a step to it, but the thing you want to use is on input section, there is a text box. And this text box is a field that the player can type into. Obviously, you can change the design of it as you wish, but this is where the player can type in something. And this text box actually has two functions as part of it. It has on text changed and on when text has been committed. The text change happens when the text has actually been changed. Committed is when you push enter at the end. So let's say you type in something, you're going to get text committed at the end of that. This is going to output the text. It also tells you the commit method, which, by the way, if you ever want to know what an enum contains, do equals, you can see how to do it. So on enter, user move focus or cleared, you can do that. But text is going to give you the text that they've typed in. And then you just compare it to whatever you have set up for things like an array of strings you want to use, or a library, or whatever. That's basically what you do, comparing that to anything you want. Anime texture, does college teach us Unreal Engine here in India? There's no course for game development. I wouldn't know for certain. I know there are Unreal Engine developers and courses in India, but obviously I have no idea. You have to check out your local areas. Anchor, hi Ryan, best way to update UI interfaces or event dispatchers? I personally prefer event dispatchers. It depends on exactly what it is I'm updating, but more than often not, I'm using event dispatchers to communicate to and from different widgets in the UI. Event dispatchers equivalent in C++, is it delegates? Yes, yeah. You can even see that if you can't remember where it is, but yes, essentially what they are. How would you make a character parry, counter an enemy? So again, we don't have the animations to go through this in a lot of detail. So it would be a longer form video. A drink, by the way. That's better. So yeah, how would you be able to make character parry or counter? So when a character is doing an animation, like enemy for example doing an animation, let me just close these. Let's find an animation to use for an example. It's not relevant, but we'll use this one. So in here, you would have an animation state. Okay, notify state, and you make your custom notify state, and this will be a window of when you can allow parries and counters. If you push a certain button and you inside that notify, you want that to trigger. Now the thing you want to do to create a notify state is you just go to your blueprint class, search for notify, and you'll see anim notify state. And this would be our parry state. So on here you have a function, and you've got notify begin, end, and tick. So when it begins, you will enable the ability for this thing to look out for inputs from the player character, and when it ends, we'll disable that ability. We'll get to that in a minute. But that would be set up on notifiers here. Pick the notify state, and you choose the length window that you want it to be in order for you to allow you when to parry and when to counter. And when that happens, that's when you trigger the whole animation stuff. So if you've got the enemy and a character doing an animation together, you be able to play the animation together. Or I don't know, whatever else. It depends on what game you're doing. But that's how you would do it, is have it like that. Yeah, essentially that's what it is. And yeah, so on the new blueprints, on the animation notify state, on the functions for begin, you'd go to you'd go to the mesh comp and get the owner of that. Not owner, sorry. For this, you may want to go to like the player character. Again, too much to set up. We don't have a lot of time, but you'd go to the player character, set up the parry thing, and you can bind an event to the parry. So when you push the parry, you can make the enemy also listen out for that, or tell the character to listen out for the parry so they can allow it. Yeah, that's it basically. Brett Kenny, again, thank you Brett for the donation. Hey Ryan, is there a good way of matching animation to location when making a cinematic besides manually matching it, like for foot sliding and such? I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure. I think someone asked this question earlier today, what part of Unreal do I find most difficult? And I would say, not most difficult, but the foggiest on is there's a lot of animation stuff that there's so much animation stuff in here. I don't know all of it. So I'm not fully up on that side of things, but I don't think so. I haven't seen it. I think it's all manually or root motions already through motion capture or something. Could you make it so you need to press A 5 times to parry in that window? Yes, totally could. No problem at all. Do I have any tips on streamlining that part of it? Not easy to show you, but I do plan on doing a cinematics type video soon, detailing some stuff like that. I did it for a recent client, set up some animation stuff like that. So in animation sense, you want to block out the keyframes and key positions first, and then worry about the finer details in between. If you're not using motion capture stuff, that would be the way to do it. But yeah, it's a long, arduous process. But you want to do the key broad strokes first, and then go through it layer by layer, adding detail as you go. Don't try and do all the detail as you go. It drives you mad. Pardon me. Chris, hello. Hope you're feeling better. Thank you. Not 100% yet, but better than I was. A question I've had is, how would you set up a way to zoom in from a character to an FPS view of a sniper scope? The example I've seen is a camera as a sniper scope. Yeah, that's basically it. Nothing more than that. You may put like a texture on it as well. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna wrap up in a moment. We're gonna end it soon. I don't tend to go over an hour. We've gone to an hour and 10, but let's answer a couple more. Vlad, what series and videos of game genres do you have coming up, Ryan? Chris, yes, a widget would work as well. Yeah. We've got obviously the survival series carrying on. There's a few more videos already I need to just make the thumbnails for, and they're done. So that would be that one. We got obviously Fireteam. There's a new AI series coming out, which is like a zombie horde mode type thing. But as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to try and do something a bit more different and try and do different genres down the line. I do want to revisit the FPS RPG stuff, but we may take a break. I want to take a break, hopefully from shooting, and try to do something a bit different. The thing I liked about RTS one was that it was different. Maybe some sort of simulation game, or like a racing game, like a kart racer. Maybe that'd be quite fun. I don't know. We want to try doing something like genre-wise, something a bit different than we've had done in the past. But happy to hear people's suggestions of what they would like to see. I don't really mind. I can do anything. Always up to try and figure out some stuff. So cool. Thanks, Brett. Now looking forward to checking it out, Chris. Hi Ryan, what is your least favourite genre to make? Probably sport, like football, like type games, soccer type games. For a variety of reasons. They are very animation heavy and very AI heavy. There's a reason why those games are iterative. It's because it's a lot of work and you just build upon what you had previously and make it better, rather than start from scratch. And I've seen the animation systems they've developed for like Madden and things like that, and they are intense, custom animation systems. So that kind of process daunts me a little bit. So if I was going to do like a soccer type game, and I'd say never say never, I probably will do at some point, because I like challenges. I like to do something new. So if I want to do a soccer type game, it'd probably be a very simplified soccer game. It won't have like crazy good AI or things like that. But definitely want to try doing some sort of sport game, even like maybe like Quidditch or something like made up like that. 3D platform and Tekken fighting series. Oh yeah, I was going to do a fighting series at some point. Yeah, that is actually on the list. Sorry. As I made it for someone else, and we're going to make it a series, and I've actually got some people making some stuff for me. So yeah, sorry, a fighting game would be happening. Side-scrolling fighting like Tekken or more like Street Fighter actually than anything else, with combos and things like that. Mr. Tree Guy, how would you make a camera shake when you're actually running? Like, for example, when you push the button to make max walk. I've actually got a video on camera shake. Do go on my channel, just search for camera shake. You'll find it there. I'll go into a lot more detail, obviously, than I can do right now. But do check it out. Camera shake is there for some interesting things there. Okay. Hi Ryan, I'm just about to release my first UE4 game. Is there anything in particular I must or should remember to do? Sorry, bit of an open question. Don't forget to put credits in there to credit anyone that you've used assets from, music from, sound effects from, anyone you want really to help you, that helped you out. Don't forget you want accessibility options for those who need accessibility options, and graphic options and audio settings and things like that. If you can customize it for people, great. That really does help. yeah, do check that out. What else? There's a lot of usability things. Do a lot of usability testing. Get other people to play the game that haven't played it before. To test for usability and see if the menus make sense. But yeah. Ian, I'd like to see some tutorials utilising meta sounds. Yeah, I'd like to check out meta sounds. I haven't. Audio is another one that's a kind of weird area that obviously is not. I pretty much know in Unreal 4 no problem, but the Unreal 5 meta sounds I haven't touched yet, so I'd like to get into there and mess about a bit. Camera shake, yeah, I can. Yeah, it is there. I do, yeah, 100% have it. I'll pretty find it now.
Heard about Saw Panda? The guys that make clothes.
Damn adverts. Yeah, put in chat. There you go. Have you thought about dynamic animations as opposed to baked? Yeah, as I said, animation is my weakest area, so I try to avoid it if I can. I know just most of it. But dynamic stuff, yeah, we can mess about with some of that, especially with Unreal 5 with the root motion tweaking you can do. That stuff's cool. I'd like to do more of that. We'll probably do an animation series in Unreal 5 that involves a lot of that stuff. A lot more IK stuff is available to you in Unreal 5, so and supported there. It's more developed, so I'd like to do more stuff in that. As you can see, we've been slowly transitioning to UE5 with different series. I'm trying not to make it so it changes versions mid-series if I can. Fireteam may still be 426 because I know Fireteam works in 426. I haven't tested it in 5 yet, so I don't know for certain. So that one probably will be Unreal 4 still. I think we should end it there for today. Last question, Vlad. Can UE4 support Bluetooth for local gaming? I don't think so. Bluetooth you can't do too much with Bluetooth. Like you can send basic stuff. I don't know how well. I've never tried a Bluetooth game before. I don't know how well you can do that, if at all. But I can imagine Bluetooth being a bit awkward. But anyway, we'll end it there for today. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who joined me back on this live stream. I said we've got videos coming out every week on almost well, not almost every day, every other day pretty much. Thank you again for donations and support over on Patreon. This live stream will be available in archive form for Patreon members immediately after the show, and will be released in coming week or two for everyone else. And as I said, we're going to try and do something new and try and clip parts out of it and upload them as separate little short video clips so people can get straight to those points. Little effort. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening, and I'll see you all next time. Good night, everyone, and God bless. Bye.
Yeah. I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it. I'm ready to do it. I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. Get in the game, your moment of fame. Show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real. I'm feeling so ruthless.
Fire team! Attack!
lower the lights down. Hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My